Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Totalbiscuit. Something a little bit different, I think. We could just do the whole straight-up WTF, but... oh my god. That might very well be the most hideous texture I've ever seen in anything. But this game has had so much controversy around it. So much that I feel like just going into it, sight unseen, and trying to figure it out from the start might very well be the way to do it. Plus, this is a survival game anyway, so the last thing I really want to do is go into it with full knowledge of what's going on, because that kind of defeats the point of the exercise. It started with controversy initially, simply because it popped up so soon after DayZ's rather massive explosion of popularity. So that was kind of a big deal. A lot of people accused it of being a rip-off. The devs claimed they'd had it in development before DayZ actually popped out, although there's really not a huge amount of proof of that. And the game itself is very similar in the notion that you are tossed into a world, and you are expected to survive with zombies and, of course, other players around. So what I will say from the start is the game runs like crap. Like, it really genuinely does. I mean, it's not even a good-looking game. The texture quality is nothing short of hideous. As you can see as well, it's not just the texture quality, the actual modeling is awful. Look at how jagged these rocks are, for instance. Just in general, the game looks awful, and I'm getting motion sick already, as in, like, the FOV seems to be really bad. It's kind of hard to tell. I sort of have to guess at it. Yeah, it doesn't seem that great. Let's see if there's anything in the options menu that allows me to change it. Short answer, no. Long answer, no. As regards to the size of the world, right now, there is only one map. And that is a 75 square kilometer map. So that's actually nowhere near what they're claiming. Animation quality is kind of laughable, honestly. It's not what I would exactly describe as impressive. I mean, that's the attack animation, or one of it. Bloody hell. Can I swim? Is that something that the game... really? Really? No. Oh. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That is actually a person, right? Yeah. Alright, so it is killing me. Well, this game is fantastic. That's truly wonderful. What a great game this is. Alright. Let's give it another shot, shall we? We have not had a lot of success thus far. You know, I want to believe that this game gets better later on in some aspects, but... at the end of the day, I do first impressions, and if my first impression of a game is god-awful because everything I see is nothing short of shockingly bad, then I have to ask, why would I bother? Oh, great. Oh, for crying out loud. It's freaking awful. Combat-wise, as you can see, it's terrible, and... it's easy enough to say that, oh, it's, you know, it's not finished yet, blah, 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 or that DayZ's just as bad. It's like, yeah, you're right, DayZ is in many ways just as bad, but DayZ is also a frickin' alpha mod for another game that doesn't cost any actual money. Now, if DayZ standalone comes out and it's as bad as this, then absolutely you should be criticizing that, but I think Poppin's pretty bad as well. It is out. They are charging money for it. It's incredible that they would think that was a good idea. And yet the game's clearly not finished. I mean, if it is, it's one of the worst games I've ever played. It handles terribly. Like, even your basic movement is awful. The animation quality is disastrously bad. The melee combat leaves a great deal to be desired. It's comically awful. trying to strafe backwards just to avoid as many hits as I can. Why won't it die? I have this feeling that this was a really terrible idea. My God, my sprinting is awful. These guys are probably not going to stop chasing me, are they? Actually finding a weapon and not getting horribly murdered by zombies seems like the biggest challenge at present. It's not like it's an advancement on DayZ. It's far from it, as far as I can tell. I'm not the kind of person that believes that any game that imitates another should automatically be called a rip-off and basically decried from the rooftops as a terrible thing and literally Hitler. This is not what I believe. I think that gaming is a very iterative marketplace. I feel that the technology behind gaming and just the medium and the art in general is entirely based on building on the success of other people, and that's where some of the greatest games came from. We wouldn't have some of the greatest games in history were it not for the games that came before them and provided a benchmark. They provided a baseline. They provided mechanics that actually worked and were then integrated into a much better product. That is a good thing for gaming. A lot of games that you play are based on games that have come out previously. That is the reality of gaming. However, having said all of that, when it becomes so blatantly obvious that you look at something that's really successful and think, you know what, we could do that, or we can do it with a cash shop, and we can charge up front for it, then, and only then, do you start to say, you know what, this is actually genuinely a rip-off. Not in the sense that it takes elements of the other game, or copies it whole cloth, but in the sense that it is ripping off consumers. The game is astonishingly boring. It really, really is. Spawn in the middle of nowhere, then very, very, very slowly move towards something that may or may not have an item that you can use, or is probably full of zombies. Die, repeat. That sounds like a great thing. Oh, that's just great, that is. That's absolutely phenomenal. Oh, this is the most boring thing I've played since Dear Esther, quite frankly. At least Dear Esther looked good. This game certainly frickin' doesn't. To mention the fact that the game has kind of made me feel sick already in terms of its horrendous movement and narrow FOV. There have been rumors that people were just straight out banned so that they would buy more copies. There were rumors that the way of dealing with hackers, which are apparently rampant in the game already, was to just ban a lot of people at random to scare the hackers into not hacking anymore. It's ridiculous. And my God, the movement is so painfully slow. It seems like I'm missing, you know, a big trick about this game, but honestly, it seems like you have to get lucky to even have any enjoyment of the game. Come across a couple of people that don't want to murder you, hopefully run into a firearm of some description. This is an absolute joke. God. I don't know how long I've been playing this already, but it's very clear that I'm completely wasting my time. I try not to come into games with a deliberate negative bias, but as I said, it is impossible to do that, and it seems like everything I've heard has kind of been validated. This game sucks. It's barely even in a gamey state. This is an alpha. Clearly an alpha. And it's not a very good one at that. Here, the game works only barely. There is nothing to it. And you might say, oh, well, it gets so much better if certain circumstances arise. That's not good enough. That is not good enough. I can't make my own fun when there's no fun to be had. I'm running around a horrible wasteland with nothing in it, avoiding the occasional packs of zombies because there's no way in a million years I could possibly fight them, trying desperately to find an item that makes this game fun. And you know what? I'm failing miserably to find it. You can say whatever the hell you like about sandbox games. And yeah, there are some instances where that's actually an excuse, but even then, those games are structured in some way. You will actually find enjoyment from the very start. God, you know, compare this to Minecraft. Yeah, I'm going to say something positive about Minecraft. That's how terrible this thing clearly is. At least with Minecraft, you go in there, you start punching trees, and you start building stuff. Like, from the very start, you're dumped in the middle of a randomly generated world, and you start doing stuff. and then night comes, and then you've got to avoid the inevitable spawn of enemies. There's some structure to that, even if the structure is implied rather than forced upon you. This game has so little of that. It gives you no idea whatsoever what to do, how to approach an area, how to actually avoid zombies in any way without getting horribly murdered, where to find items. This game sucks. It is utter rubbish. It is an unfinished, completely reprehensible, and utterly irredeemable farce. And if you spend money on it, then you are very silly. It's a disgrace. Absolute disgrace. I'll see you next time.